Welcome, everybody, coming at you live from New York. This is Spirit Matters, your daily Bhakti Center podcast, and we are so glad that you are here. My name is Dal Grunga, and I'm here with Achyuta Gopi, and our tri-host Kishore Chandra is not here on Mondays no more. He teaches Monday morning. He's not with us, so we're holding it down to greet you, get you going on the week, and get a little bit of spiritual nourishment and connection. How are we doing this morning, fam?
I am feeling extra sheltered.
Extra shelter. Any reason that you're getting that little extra bit of shelter?
I think actually yesterday's Bhagavat Shravan program was super sweet.
Mm-hmm.
I got to spend some really nice time with some great devotees,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just kind of remembering and reinforcing what good association can do for you.
Mm. You want to share a little bit more about what that meant to you?
It's just super sweet. It's just a really nice time. Sometimes
Mm.
you can feel like a little bit of a well, I can feel like a little bit of a loner, and then I can get used to being a loner. And
Mm.
I'm a person. I'm like, I have books. I don't need anything other than books. I need people. I have books. It's fine. Um, but it was just really nice to just kind of like remember. Oh yeah, people are nice. People are
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
It was really sweet. It was a really sweet program. I loved being there in the class. We have a program in person at the Bhakti Center here in New York for those that are listening if you're new. And it was really sweet to be there with you because I felt like I was because the speaker was really funny and he was engaging. And I felt like I was watching a movie. And sometimes when you watch a movie with friends, some friends are just like, everyone's quiet, they don't say anything, they're just watching the movie. And then sometimes you have movies and friends, and they're making little comments or asking little questions or something like that. And I was like, I felt like I just needed some popcorn, and we're watching
Yeah.
the movie, and we're like, that's me. I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
you know. And so you and Keshav and Ananta, and so it was a real interactive experience.
Yeah, it
And
was
so,
really, really nice.
but it was really beautiful. And glad that you helped make it that. It is really beautiful, and in a lot of ways, Krishna consciousness is that simple. Just coming together and doing the simple things.
Right?
Hmm.
And oftentimes we can complicate it in our minds. Oh no, it's got to be this way or that, where we have to do
Mm.
this or that. And it was just a really nice cap on what had been just a beautiful weekend of like association.
Mm. I was reflecting on that a lot in terms of because Radhanath Swami recently visited New York. I mean, in October, and he was here, and so many people want to spend time with him. And I used to be in a space where I would think, I want to spend time with Radhanath Swami, and we're gonna like strategize about our services and like what we're gonna do at the Bhakti Center, and like he's gonna give me all these instructions, etc. And then you just start just talking about life and talking about like not even anything like philosophical. He's telling you a story about somebody he met, and then you're just kind of, and then you also you observe when he spends time with other people, and it can be just very casual, and you think, wow, there's nothing different that I'm doing with this person that I would with anybody else. It just feels different because it's very present and pure.
Yeah.
It's
And
very present and pure.
I actually really cherish those moments. I feel like those are the things that help me develop even a more intimate and faithful relationship with my spiritual people. And faithful, I mean like actually full of faith. Like those are the
Mm.
things that boost my faith. So that when I really do have an issue, I feel like we have established a safe space enough to be able to come to those people. And so
Mm.
I feel like if we haven't had those casual conversations, it can kind of just feel like a little bit like a jump in the friend zones, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this was the case with Krishna and Arjuna. I feel like they had spent so many casual moments together, just doing
Mm.
friend things, doing regular people things. They would go on picnics, they would go on vacations, they would go on outings, and Krishna would bring one of his wives, and then Arjuna would bring Draupadi, and they would just it would be just such a normal thing. And I think that sometimes we forget that spiritual life can be normal. Spiritual life can be effortless. Um, we are often putting so much effort into our spiritual life. It has to be. I have to put effort. Sometimes, just like this weekend, it can be effortless.
Mm. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being there with us. I'm grateful for that. Thank you. And I like how you connected that to the Bhagavad Gita in terms of the entire conversation that we've been reading in a lot of ways is predicated on the relationship that Krishna and Arjuna had with each other. And sometimes spiritual relationships include deep reading and studying and discussing of spiritual philosophy and all kinds of things. And sometimes it's just living life together and building bonds
Yeah.
with each other, building bonds with each other. It's really, really important.
And building bonds with Krishna, which is this,
Mm.
you know, philosophical idea of sambandha. And sometimes I
Mm.
feel like when we put words to the emotions that we're feeling, the things that we're doing, yes, it brings such clarity and it gives it such like credence and weight. But then also it kind of complicates it for us in our minds, because then we're not just doing the thing, we are actually then, oh, now we got to think about what we're doing, you know?
Mm.
So I like that sometimes we can just not have to think so much about it. We can just do what comes naturally. And that lecture yesterday, I
Mm.
think was it streamed to the Bhakti Center YouTube?
I don't know. I'm gonna Google it right now. I'm gonna find it.
That would be so cool because that lecture yesterday also felt effortless. The speaker didn't sit down with a whole bunch of notes and all of these things. And yes, he had a planned set of things that he wanted to speak about, but the way that he
Mm.
did it was just very, very effortless and really gentle, really nice. He just
Mm.
kind of eased you into all of these philosophical topics that could sound, and that's what he was saying. He's like, I'm gonna enter into a mind bending and like mind reeling analysis, but it was so effortlessly done,
Mm.
so super like sweet and gentle. Just whoop.
Not seeing it.
I know
I'm sure
somebody,
it's somewhere. It's certain
yeah,
some. We'll
somebody
find it
recorded it.
somewhere.
I gotta find it because it was such a good one.
Mm.
So the whole lecture just kind of felt like this was the mood for that day. Everything was
Mm.
just going to be allowed to be effortless. And I think that when we're building those bonds, I think that that's important. It's important
Mm.
for us to be a little effortless with each other, a little simple with each other. Doesn't always have
Mm.
to be a big deal, doesn't always have to be a big like, you know, formal to do or discussion. And that's what
Mm.
happened yesterday. I wound up talking with friends at the Bhakti Center for kind of hours, unintentionally, not meaning to.
Mm.
But it just wound up being an effortless conversation.
Mm. I really was only planning to talk to you not more than 90 seconds, but now we're here for 2 hours. You previously were on my 90-second tier. Now you've jumped to my 2-hour tier.
Right.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, I'm so glad that experience was there and that you helped create that. You helped create that at Gopi Devi. You helped create that. So thank you.
Apparently, it was your idea. So the new format of the program was Dayal's idea.
I just create ideas and put them out there and see if someone else is going to actually do it. And then I support them. We got 2 verses left in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We got 2 verses left in second. Well, because you missed a couple days last week with Kishore and
Oh
I.
yeah. Okay.
So we got all the way through verse 70. We talked about what is night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage, and how our values may shift over time, or our values may shift away from the values of people that we used to align ourselves with, We talked about becoming deep in ourselves, like the ocean.
Mhm.
And we've got 2 verses left, verse 71 and 72, before we finish chapter 2. So you
Wow.
missed a couple verses. Is there anything you want to go back and speak about some of those verses? Because sometimes you have a favorite verse you want to talk about, or we can dive right into verse 71.
Well, there was, something that you said that I thought was really cool, and it was about, our
Mm,
values and aligning ourselves with our values. And
mm.
I actually kind of just I wanted to hear more because
Uh-oh.
spiritually, oh no.
It's like, I want to hear from you. It's like, no, I'm supposed to be the one that just hears from you.
Just because, I feel like sometimes spiritually we can feel like our values change.
They do.
And yeah, and like, so then what do we do? It almost kind of feels like when your values change, and I think it goes in a little bit also with association, because our values can change, and sometimes others can be with the same set of values. Like sometimes you start relating to people on a certain wavelength, and then you grow, you change, you move, and then sometimes others don't, and it can feel then like there's a disconnect. How do we balance that in our spiritual lives?
Yeah. That's a great question. I was thinking about even like values change. And I was thinking actually more for me, I was rephrasing it internally as my values evolve. Because I think that it's not just like, oh, I value that, now I don't. I think it's our understanding of life is constantly evolving and what it means to express a value in a particular way. I may value family and connection,
Mm,
but the way family and connection was modeled for me growing up, or the way that I've experienced that, or my understanding of that, maybe may evolve over time. And then there may be a warped or a tweaked way in which that comes out. And then I realized that, oh, actually, I thought that the honoring of this value meant this, but now it actually means this. And so I think that as we grow and mature and open ourselves up to change, then the understanding of our values and what our values actually mean evolves and grows and change. And I think that is the hallmark of spiritual awareness.
mm,
Am I allowing myself to evolve and change? Just like yesterday, Shubha Vilasprabhu, who was the speaker, was talking about the idea of absorption versus attachment. Like in spiritual life, we want this level of absorption in our service, this level of absorption in paying attention to the details. Love means attention to the details. We get quoted often, etc. And at the same time, we're not meant to be attached. Don't be attached that I did this. The ahamkar means I am the doer, I am the creator, I am the owner. This is mine. I did this. um Krishna is constantly urging Arjuna to be in the mood of an instrument, rather than like the conductor. You're not the conductor, you're the instrument. And so I think that he said the fail safe is when we are always seeking to improve in our service, always seeking to find a way that, like, and I love how Vaisheshika Prabhu quotes it often, I live to be corrected. This Trinadapi Sunichina Tarori Vasahishna Amanina Amanina Kirtaniya Sarahari. We can dive deeper and deeper and deeper into absorption. The holy names can forever live on our lips when we embrace humility, when we embrace tolerance, when we become willing to offer all respects to other living beings and not demand or expect that we be respected and recognized and praised for everything that we do. In that mentality, we can deepen ourselves in absorption. And so I
mm,
think that it's a willingness to know that um, I can grow, I can evolve. And so I think that that is how we can accept our values, not necessarily like changing, like switching camps, but like evolving my understanding of what it means to express this, because I'm shifting from, and I'll end here, I'm shifting from being led by ego by being led by true self and Krishna.
mm,
And so as the ego starts to shed, that lens of how I interpret things the value doesn't shift, but the lens of ego that I used to view it through starts to cleanse.
Mm, I like that. And I I like how you brought up, several points, always staying a student, which
Mm-hmm.
was definitely a wonderful point. And for the first time, I kind of looked at Vaisheshika Prabhu's point, I live to be corrected, a little bit differently. Um, as a person who has some resistance to being like constantly corrected, I think it might have something to do with being like the youngest of a family of like four, whatever. So you can sometimes feel like you're always corrected anyhow as the youngest, and
Yeah.
you're like,
That doesn't
whatever.
mean that you live to correct me.
But also, it it reminded me that it lends itself to us being surprised by Krishna.
Hmm.
If we know everything all the time, Krishna can't surprise us.
Hmm.
But that's who Krishna is. This is what Krishna consciousness does. Sometimes, it's those moments where we were so sure something in life was going to go this one way. And you're like, oh, I stand corrected, but not in the bad way. It's in the best way of, wow, Krishna pleasantly surprised me by this incident.
Hmm.
And I was once again kind of drawn back yesterday, and that's what I felt yesterday. I was like, huh, I stand corrected. And just being and allowing myself to be really, really present in Sangha with devotees, it did two things. It reminded me of why I like Sanghas and why I like being in lectures with really
Hmm.
dynamic speakers. But it also reminded me of the stark contrast between associating with some people versus associating with others. And you should feel a lightness. It shouldn't all be so heavy.
Hmm.
Um, it doesn't all have to be so intense. Krishna consciousness doesn't all have to be so intense. And that's what it felt like yesterday. It was such a lightning. And that's what I felt like I had been missing. And I kind of felt like I was like, that's what I'm always chasing. That's what I'm chasing. Those moments where your heart feels light, your whole spirit feels rejuvenated. You feel just like, okay, it's fine. It was really cold out in New York yesterday, and I didn't mind. Like it was just one of those, it's fine, it's fine. Because it doesn't have to be always so heavy. Life will be heavy enough on its own. And I do sometimes, we are often discussing the heavier topics of spiritual life because we are dealing with them. And then sometimes we have to remind ourselves to have fun, go play around with it. It's
Hmm.
okay. We can discover life without feeling like, but if I trip up or make a mistake, then everything is over. It's not. It's not the end. We're still going. And even if we've made a mistake, okay, now we don't have to like beat down the mistake and dissect every moment of the mistake in order to not make the mistake again. It's enough that we've felt it. Okay, now we can let that go. We can be allowed to move on past the mistakes with the faith that, okay, I experienced that, and now I don't have to make the same mistake again. I think sometimes, before we allow ourselves to move on, like we got to drive the point home. And I've often heard of, like, you have these relationship autopsies. Have you ever heard of that? Like, you go through an
Yeah,
experience.
I actually have heard that phrase.
Yeah, you have to have a relationship autopsy. You've got to do all this stuff. You got to like dissect it and figure out what went wrong and how it went wrong and how not to do it again and all this stuff. And I'm like, or maybe it's okay to put that to rest so that we have the energy and the strength to pick ourselves back up before,
Maybe
like,
we just have a funeral.
right. Yeah, yeah. Maybe we just have a funeral. Maybe we
Or
allow
maybe
ourselves,
cremation. Maybe we go. Maybe we just have a Can we all just go to the crematorium, the funeral pyre?
right? Say our little goodbyes. Everybody hold a little vigil and then we're done.
We're done. You mentioned the idea of that kind of that lightning or that feeling light, not like a lightning bolt, but the lightening, like making lighter. goes missing. Why do you think it goes missing, and how can we not let it go missing so often?
I think that it goes missing in all good intentions. I think that we care. We
Mm,
care about our spiritual lives. We care about ourselves, our own lives, our healing, our journeys. We care so much about it. And I think that sometimes the things that have caused us to get heavy, or the things that have caused us to make mistakes, or the traumas that we're dealing with, they're so heavy that we think, well, all of this heaviness has been put on me. It can't be so simple to just toss it, can it? If we forget about it, then what are we doing this for? Arjuna is saying, but this is so heavy. This is a war. If I can't just put down the trauma of then killing all these people, can I? I can't be okay gaining a kingdom having done all of these socially abominable things, can I? Like it can't be that simple. That would make me callous and careless, wouldn't it? And Krishna's saying, no, you can do this as a service. And then you can put down the guilt and the trauma and the heaviness. You can put it down. And even after this ghastly war, Krishna continues to encourage Yudhishthir, the older brother who becomes king. He's like, put it down. You don't have to carry the heaviness for forever. And I think that is something that is so unique. Krishna wants us to learn the lessons, but he does not want us to carry around the heaviness for forever. He allows us to learn the lessons without saying, okay, now you sit there and you think about what you've done for forever. Krishna is not like that. He's like, okay, you've learned it. Now keep moving. Move,
mm,
grow, evolve, love, have beautiful experiences that make your heart light and happy. Don't be afraid to be happy after things have happened. And Arjuna and Yudhishthir, there's so many of them, but how could I possibly be happy? The world would look at me like I was careless and callous and rude and abominable if I were to be happy after something like this happened. And Krishna's view is different. Krishna says, I say you're a spiritual being. If you are able to allow yourself to be happy, even after heartache or failure or horrible things have happened, find satisfaction in the soul. Find your satisfaction and your peace, but you do not have to stay. And it's like the hallmark of a spiritual person is that they don't stay stuck. They continue to move out of that with they transcend it. So this idea of transcendence has been something for me this weekend where I'm like, I can put down the hard things. Yes, we've come past them, we've come through them, and now I can put it down.
I think I also love, as you were speaking, I was just referring to the idea of reassurance coming in mind, and I think that devotee sangha in a lot of ways is like the ultimate form of reassurance of, because I think that failure, most of us don't, I don't really believe that we fear failure. I think we fear the sense of rejection that we believe will come as a result of that failure. It's not that I'm worried about my body looking a certain way, being pretty or ugly, being financially wealthy or not, being, smart or intelligence or having whatever it is. It's that I'm looking for acceptance, I'm looking for connection, I'm looking for belonging. And I fear that if I'm quote unquote what society deems ugly or poor or not funny or whatever it might be, then I'll get rejected. I won't have friends, I won't have a partner, I won't have family, I won't have this, that, or the other. And I think that in a lot of ways, Arjuna is worried about that. I'm going to lose family. I'm going to lose status. I'm going to lose what's dear to me. And Krishna says, you're mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Not that those things are important, but he's just saying, let me show you where you'll actually find those things. You're not going to lose connection because it's inherent to who you are. You're not going to lose purpose and meaning because it's inherent to who you are. You are Sat Chit Ananda. And so I think that spiritual sangha, as you were, because this whole conversation predicated on the experience that you had yesterday in this program at the Bhakti Center, and this sangha and association, and I'm adding this word reassurance that things are actually going to be okay. And when we lack the ability to tell ourselves that, that's when our spiritual sangha, that's when Krishna comes in, and because what's most valuable can never be taken away. If something was truly taken away, it's not of actually genuine eternal value to you. And if something is of genuine value and you're worried about it being taken away, it can't be taken away. And so there's that sort of sense of you'll never lose what's most meaningful. You just have to sometimes be reminded where you can find it.
I was reading a book, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, recently, a couple weeks ago. And one quote in a commentary stuck out to me so much. I took it to heart, held it, and I've been just kind of like sitting with it, meaning to make a reel about it eventually. But
Stay
until then,
tuned.
that's right. Until then, I've just been like really sitting with it in my heart. And that quote was, whatever Krishna has given to us souls as a gift, no one will ever take away, including Krishna himself. What Krishna has given to us, no one will ever be able to take away, including Krishna. So sometimes we wonder, we think, oh, I have this natural aptitude for this, I have this gift, I have this Krishna consciousness, I have this, and this. But what if I falter? But what if I make a mistake? What if I fail? What if I do this? What happens if I'm not what everybody thinks I am? Then all of that goes away. But here, our spiritual teachers and from 500 years ago are telling us whatever Krishna has given will never be taken away. We don't have to worry so much that if we fail, if we falter, if we have a misstep, a mistake, that Krishna is so hard-hearted and cutthroat that he's just waiting for that one slip up and then you're done. Krishna is waiting to forgive and forgive and forgive and forgive.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. I resonate with that a lot, and there's a lot to take home and take away, which is why we're going to turn to Kimberly, our taker awayer, who wraps things up for us, gives us a few little things to put in our pocket and take home with us. If anybody else has some takeaways, you can put them in the chat. And what you got for us, Kimberly?
Thank you. We got a lot to put in our pockets today. All right, so taking away, do what comes naturally and effortlessly. Be in the mood of an instrument. Learn the lesson, but let go of the heaviness. Allow ourselves to evolve and be surprised by Krishna. And lastly, we can't lose what is inherent to us.
Our pockets are full. Closing word, Achyuta?
Just that this one gave me the warm and fuzzies, which is nice.
Well, that's because you came in warm and fuzzy.
Sure, I was feeling warm and fuzzy. It's true.
You came in warm and fuzzy. You shared those warm and fuzzies with us. There's a lot of closing words for me, but also just that point, the last thing you said, Kimberly, of that that you were hitting home with the truth, is that we can't lose what's been given to us. And there's so easy to get caught up in fear that I'm gonna get lost, or I'm gonna lose something, or be forgotten, or whatever. And it's just a lie. It's just not true. It's not true. And so to let that reassurance just kind of wash over us, and how important it is that we need each other to remind ourselves of that. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. That's why you're here. That's why we're grateful we're here, and we love you. And so thank you, everybody, so much for being here. Thank you for being you. If you heard something that you liked, or write it down, share it with a friend, write to us at spiritmatters@bhakticenter.org so we can hear from you, know that you're out there. And we will see you all again, same time, same place tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.